Welcome back, guys, for another body language analysis video. We're going to break down Conor McGregor versus Cerrone. It's fight week.
Sicker than your average, pop a twist cabbage on instinct. Niggas don't think shit, stink pink gators. My Detroit players.
Okay, guys, so we're going to be breaking down McGregor versus Cowboy, the press conference. I'm going to do a part 2 and break down the weigh-in, which I imagine is going to be tonight. Or tomorrow, probably tomorrow night. That gives the fighters 24 hours. I know they weigh in before that now, but it's kind of like a fake weigh-in just for the fans. It gathers a lot of traction. It probably sells a lot of tickets too. But we're just going to do the body language analysis of McGregor and Cowboy and just see what we can tell about the fight. Maybe it'll help you guys with making a few bets. Who knows? Let's take a look. Okay, so we're underway. We've got Dana coming in. Shout out to Dana as well, wearing the Australian t-shirt there. You know, shout outs go out to Australia. Everything that's happening with the fires at the moment. Anything that we can do, we'll try and do. Obviously, 1STMAN's still small at the moment. I wish it was a lot bigger because I'd 100% donate, maybe even go out there and help. But anything we can do in terms of, I don't know, raising awareness, maybe fundraising, get in contact in the comments. I'd love to be a part of that. Okay, so here comes Cowboy, looking like the Undertaker. He's definitely spent a little bit of that fight money already on that outfit, I'm pretty sure of it. Guys, before we start, I just want to make a disclaimer. When I did McGregor versus Khabib, or Khabib versus McGregor, because Khabib was the champion, I got a lot of shit from the Russians. The Russians were after me. It sounds like the plot of Training Day. But they weren't happy at the way I broke it down and made Khabib look softer than Conor. Now, this isn't an estimation for the fight or a prediction for the fight, should I say. This is just me weighing up the body language from the expertise that I have with body language and saying what I see. It's no reflection on the men themselves. You know, usually what's going on in their mind is different to what their body is displaying. And it doesn't always mean, you know, the correct thing. It doesn't always mean that the fight's going to go this way or that so-and-so is more alpha than someone else. You know, I love Khabib. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a fantastic fighter. And I did actually think he was going to beat Conor. But based on the body language, you would say that Conor is the more confident guy. And Khabib was a little bit taken back with the amount of fame that he instantly got when he signed to fight Conor. And that's probably going to happen in this video too, so don't give me shit for it. I'm just breaking down the body language. I'm not taking sides, even if it looks that way. I'm just saying what I see. But let's go. So straight away we can see Cowboy coming in, quite confident, slow, smooth walk. One thing that I would note though is here, as we've seen with Khabib in the past, his arms are very much by his side. This goes out slightly, but compared to Conor, which you'll see in a minute, it's a big, big difference. And we've gone with the green for the Irish, because I'm 50% Irish. Okay, so let's roll this on a little bit more. Still remembering how to use these tools. So as I said, you know, very smooth from Cowboy. He looked down a lot as he came in, just kind of, you know, somebody is a little bit taken back by the environment. Maybe they go up on stage, collect an award, do a speech. Maybe they've done something good at work. Maybe they're leaving work and everybody asks them to give a speech. They kind of walk on, looking down at the ground, looking a little bit embarrassed about it. Or it's exactly, I know he's looking at his chair now, but that's exactly what Cowboy was doing. He kept glancing down at the floor, chin was pointed downwards. And it's not that he's afraid, he's just not used to these environments. I don't think he's comfortable. He doesn't really give a shit about the whole press thing. He just does it because he has to. But I don't think he's as comfortable as Conor at doing this kind of shit. So let's just roll this on again. And you could see the reluctancy to shake Dana's hand. And he's not unfriendly towards Dana. It was just he wasn't really prepared for that. And you'll see Conor in a minute, completely different. The other thing you'll see, if I can just bring this back very slightly, that'll do. We'll play it from here. We'll get through this bit. So as we can see here, he's looking down at Dana's hand. Dana's attempting to make eye contact in a second, as we can see here. And it might be the hat, but you can see Cowboy's very much, you know, downwards body language, looking down here. Dana's making forward eye contact. I think that's just Cowboy's demeanour as a person. I don't think he's as confident as Conor. He doesn't really enjoy all this stuff. He becomes more comfortable as it goes on. But just reflective as him as a person, you know, dressed all in black, looking down, doesn't really want to be there, doesn't really give a shit. And based on some of his answers in the press conference, I don't think he's a media type of guy, but it's cool to see. I love him. I think Cowboy's an amazing guy. So let's roll this on. Now, one thing I want you guys to take note of here is how slowly Cowboy sits down. And the reason I want you to watch this is because in around about 2-3 minutes when McGregor's there, there's a massive difference. And I'll explain why. But just watch how slowly Cowboy sits down here. That's a very cool, smooth alpha move, which all changes when Conor arrives, which tells me a lot about the two personalities and maybe something towards the fight and something that you guys might want to bet on. Let's get this going. And straight away, guys, we can see the McGregor stroll, or should I say the Vince McMahon stroll, adopted by McGregor. You can't see his feet because of this BT thing, and shout out to BT. I know I'm allowed to use this footage, I believe, because I'm not making money off it and it's promoting their fight, so fingers crossed. If not, fuck you, BT. I'm kidding, don't take this down. You can see the gap between Conor's feet here. He's taking very long strides, he's walking heel to toe, it's a very alpha thing. And as you can see here, he makes his body so much bigger than Cowboy did. Cowboy had his arms by his side. Look at the gap here between his body and his arms. Gigantic gaps here and there. God, you can see it there with the drawing, like one alpha pose that is from Conor. And everything he does is very scripted, it's very deliberate. You know, he's acting very much in these scenarios because he knows everything is brand recognition. And we can also see that his chin is up in the air. You know, his eyes are pointed very much forward. It's a very proud man walk. He knows he's side on, he knows the cameras are looking at him. You know, look at the width between both of his hands as well. That's a very, very confident stroll. And let's just move this on a little bit more. He gets very close to Cowboy as well. I know there's not a lot of space, but he gets very, very close. I think that's kind of the old Conor coming back out, even though he resisted it. Let's move this forward a little bit more. There's about two things here that are quite important. So moving in here, unlike Cowboy, he was very confident. He moved straight in for the handshake. I know he's friends with Dana, but straight in with the handshake. It just shows how comfortable he is in these environments. He knows what to do. He's been there before. And I think that's a persistent theme throughout this whole press conference, is that it's not that Cowboy is scared of McGregor or scared of the fight ahead. I mean, Cowboy's had more fights than Scrappy do, but he's just taken back by the whole occasion, whereas Conor's been in this scenario so many times. He fought Mayweather, which was 10 times bigger than this. You know, he's just so relaxed, he's used to it. But let's roll this on. Right there, I find that extremely, extremely important. Number one, the hand positioning on Dana's back. He always adds in an extra hand. You know, that's a very alpha move to put your hands on someone else, invade their kind of private space, their personal space. But more, I think even more importantly, if we just roll this back, I don't know if anybody saw, but there's a double tap. There's a double tap here on Dana's back. Watch this. There. Now Conor, as much as everything's scripted, he's acting, he's putting on this whole, show to the people, there's certain little cues and movements that you can't really fake, and that double tap is very much what a senior guy would do to a junior guy. Maybe a dad would do to a son after he's done something good. Or you're greeting somebody and you just give them a little tap on the back. That's usually what the dominant figure in the group will do to the beta males or the younger kids or whatnot. Or somebody who's their junior maybe at work. It's quite a patronising move, as to say, I've kind of got you, I'm here for you, I'm caring for you. And that's exactly what Conor did there. So let's roll this on. And we can see how relaxed Conor is here. He's waving, he's fist bumping. There's vintage Conor, he's doing that to the crowd. He's very, very relaxed. And we can see there, I'll roll it back again so you know what you're looking for, because I want to teach throughout this, not just tell. If we roll this on, watch from this point onwards. Watch the slow walk from Conor, the way he angles his shoulders back and forth, right and left, very much like a roll of the shoulders, a very alpha walk. If anybody's ever played GTA, it's kind of that exaggerated walk that they do in that. Let me roll this on so you can see what I mean. It's a very slow, deliberate movement. There, you can see it. He's swinging his legs through, he's swinging his shoulders back and forth, almost leaning back. That's a very alpha thing to do. It's very relaxed. You can tell how composed McGregor is with this whole scenario. So let's just move this on a little bit more. This is quite an important moment because McGregor kind of initiates the handshake with Cowboy, which shows again that he's the dominant figure, he's leading it up here. But when I said to you guys earlier, watch out for how slow Cowboy sits down. Let me see if I can just take this back a little bit. I think I've gone too far, let's take this back. No, I've gone too far the other way. Let's just roll this through, okay? I'll show you when it comes up. Okay, so what I want you guys to take note of here is keep an eye on Cowboy. Watch how quickly he stands up when McGregor comes over. Compared to how slowly he sat down, the speed is like 4 or 5 times difference. Now, he could just be being polite, I could be splitting hairs and reading too much into this, but I personally think this is kind of when you go for an interview and the boss walks in and you stand up very quickly to show that you're attentive, you're there, they're in the power position, the alpha male position. And the way that he jumped up very much looked like that. It kind of looked like a senior-junior situation, a boss and an employee situation there. I don't know what you guys think, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but the difference between when he sat down and he was on stage himself, on his own, compared to when Conor's on stage and he's popping up quickly, I think this could be, if there's any sign, body language isn't too much to read into fighting, maybe in the octagon. But in terms of this scenario here, I think this could be the one thing that affects Cowboy the most during the fight, if you want to put a bet on. And I think that might be that he respects Conor too much. He's a little bit in awe of him, the whole situation. He's been in this situation a lot, and I think he'd rather be, I think he'd rather skip the press conference, just turn up and swing it out. He loves to fight. So I think this whole situation's getting to Cowboy in the sense of, he's not stressed, but he's just uncomfortable. And I think based on what he said in the press conference as well, and the actions I can see where he's popping up quickly, I think he may show McGregor too much respect. And if he allows McGregor to get on the front foot early and kind of set the pace, set the distance, dominate the kind of the ring authoritativeness, and just be the puppet master and just, controlling that range is the most important. If Cowboy stands off and respects him too much and is just kind of in awe of being opposite him in the octagon, he's going to get lit up by that left hand. And that's very, very dangerous. And that could be the only thing that lets Cowboy down. But I mean, it could be completely wrong. Cowboy could just smash him with a head kick early on, and all of this is bollocks. But you know, it's a body language analysis. I'm just saying what I see. I love Cowboy. You know, don't read too much into this, but they're very fun to break down and look at. But let's roll this on. And both men holding very good eye contact there, very good handshake. Nothing wrong with that from either man. Now watch this bit here, because I know I said that Cowboy sat down very slowly. McGregor's even slower, and he takes a very, very long time to sit down, which is what a lot of confident men will do. Excuse me. If you get confident men in a scenario like this, a group scenario, if they come in late, that's usually what they do. They come in late and it takes ages to sit down, and they kind of sit down slowly and just keep all eyes on them. An old boss that I used to have said that he'd organise meetings and then come in around about 2 minutes late, because he wanted everybody to know when he arrived, that's when it started. And he wasn't a dick or anything like that. He just said that it gave him the attention, you know, when he spoke, everyone listened. And I think that's kind of, I know Conor had to come in second, but the way he takes his time, especially here, he's really toying with it. And I think that's something that he's doing. So that's going to be it for the first half. We're going to jump over to when they square off, because I think during the press conference it's very nice and nice. You know, it's not like the old McGregor press conferences, which is nice to see actually. I like it, the respect that he's shown. I think at 31 you don't want to be a dick anymore, right? So we're going to move this on to the second part when they start squaring off. I've actually made notes here. It's around about 35 minutes 40, so let's try and get to that best we can. It's actually really hard to do. That'll do, we'll play it from here. So right off the bat, the handshake is perfect. They both met in the middle. Nobody's trying to get an edge. If anything, Conor's hand was a little bit closer to Cerrone's body on both handshakes actually. But I could be reading too much into that. If anything, it's millimeters at most. You see how Cowboy moved back very slightly there. He was shuffling around. He was trying to get set. He was trying to get comfortable. He's not as comfortable in these scenarios as McGregor. Let's see if we can pull this back. I don't know if I can do it here. What are we on? Okay, so just watch the shuffling and the movement slightly back here from Cowboy. Did anybody see that one step back? The way McGregor moved in by one step. That's what I mean about that respect. And I know Cowboy does his talking in the octagon, but that was a big moment. That one step forward from Conor and that one step back from Cowboy. Is that how it's going to go on Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on where you live? Well, actually, to be honest, probably even Sunday morning, depending on where you live. But is that how it's going to go? Maybe Conor's going to go onto the front foot, back him up. Like I said, he might show him too much respect. To be honest, if these body language analyses start, I think that's a word, if they start predicting fights and I start getting these right, maybe we can all start making a lot of money off this. I doubt it's going to be a perfect science, but who knows? We'll keep track of it. Call me out if I get it wrong. So in these scenarios, I always look at people's hands and fingers, because you know the hands and the fingers, the feet especially, if we could see them, we'd know a lot more. But that usually what those parts of the body are doing tells a lot more about the situation. Reason being, they're further away from the body, which means that we have less control over them, because our brain it controls things that are closer to us better. So like our face, our eyes, whatever, our head movement, you know, it can do that a lot better than things that are further away that we're not potentially thinking about. Usually you can tell if somebody's lying based on their foot movement. So it's good eye contact from both guys, but McGregor always does this thing where he glances down. So he's making good eye contact and then he glances down here and here. He like kind of sizes his opponent up. And when you look somebody up and down, you're kind of treating them like shit. You're sort of saying, I don't respect you, looking them up and down and just saying, it's a disrespectful move, you know, it's very, very, very disrespectful. And he does it to all of his opponents. And I think it's kind of like a belittling thing where he's weighing them up. Let's move this on again. And to be honest, Cowboy actually broke last, so McGregor actually gave him the nod. He's still conducting this, Cowboy's still taking his order. But Cowboy was the last one to look away, which is very good. But I think maybe McGregor doesn't want to get in those childish mind games, but that's definitely a point for Cerrone there. And Dana just looks relieved that there was no fighting. Okay, here is very, very important. I think Cowboy's becoming a little bit more comfortable. He's opening up a little bit more, but we'll see in a minute that actually falls away. But he's definitely trying. You can see that this time his arm's a lot wider than it was earlier, and here he's taking up a ton of space. And he looks like a much bigger man in this situation right here. He's filling up a lot of space. This is fantastic from Cowboy in terms of, I don't know if these fighters get intimidated, but in terms of, you know, looking the part in a body language sense, this is brilliant. Look at the amount of space that Cowboy's filling. He's definitely the alpha in this situation. That's 2 points to Cowboy right there. I know we're not keeping score, but that's very, very good. So let's roll this on a little bit more. See, what I love here is this truly shows that Cowboy, you know, he was trying, but he's really not comfortable with the scenario. He's letting McGregor shout the orders, conduct everything. He's kind of taking instruction from him because he's like, I've not been in this situation before. How do I do this? How do I sell this fight? And he breaks earliest. I don't think he's into the whole bullshit of it as well, which is, you know, credit to him, so to speak. But he stares at McGregor here as to say, like, what do we do next? Do we continue doing this bollocks or do we move on? And McGregor's in a very alpha stance, as we can see. Arms, hands up high. This is massively important, maybe the biggest key throughout this. Watch this. So Cowboy goes, okay, we're still doing this shit. How about I just copy what you're doing? Which definitely speaks volumes towards, you know, he's letting McGregor take the lead. He's taking instruction from him. But massively important here is that this hand is high. This hand is high because it's the furthest one away. So Cowboy's not showing any disrespect. McGregor's got this hand high. And Cowboy's kept this one a lot lower than McGregor's. I think that's so he doesn't get in his personal space, he's very close. But also, it signifies that he doesn't want to raise that hand above McGregor's. And it's what I said earlier about he shows too much respect to McGregor. I think he doesn't want to tread on his toes, and he kind of sees him as the alpha male in the UFC kind of environment, and maybe that will lead to too much respect on fight night. And that could be the downfall of Cowboy, based on what I'm reading here. But it's just a body language analysis video. Like I said, Cowboy could go in there and just kick his head off in the first round. But we just move this on. You can see that hand doesn't come any higher. It stays rooted low. And the second that McGregor stops and starts smiling, you can see Cowboy's very relieved. He's laughing, he's smiling. He instantly turned to McGregor and just kind of said, thank God that's over. You know, he's taking the lead and he's letting him run the show. Let's move this on. And just as we expect to see from the showman is McGregor, Cowboy goes and exits stage right, I guess. And Conor's still here. You know, he's got more of a fan base. He's still celebrating on the stage. It just shows how comfortable he is with all of this. And Cowboy just kind of couldn't wait to get out of there. He was just enjoying the experience somewhat, taking lead from McGregor. And I think we'll see the real Cowboy definitely in the weigh-in, which we'll do part 2 of this body language analysis for, which I think will be very, very interesting to see if anything changes, if you want to keep up to date with that. I'll probably release that in a day or two, definitely before the fight, obviously. And then maybe, I think we'll definitely 100% see a different Cowboy on fight night. I think that's what he was born for. This other shit, it's not really his forte. I think if you want to say who won the press conference, you know, who won the body language test, Definitely McGregor. Cowboy started opening up, but I keep going back to it, and I think there's too much respect being shown by Cowboy, and I just hope that doesn't translate to the ring, and I hope we get the real Cowboy and we get a proper fight. I don't want him to, like as we saw, he backed up, McGregor took a step forward. If that's a resemblant of what we're going to see on Fight Night, Cowboy's going to be in trouble because McGregor's just going to tee off on him. And that could be what we see, but I could be wrong. Anyway guys, it's been a pleasure coming back doing this body language analysis. I really miss doing them. There's a Bond film out soon. I'm definitely going to break down that because I remember how popular they were back in the day. I think that's out in, is it April? Start of April? I think it's April 3rd. As soon as that film comes out, I'll start breaking down the body language and you know, maybe do part 1, part 2, part 3 from that film because it's sure to be a 2.5 hour film minimum, knowing the Bond franchise as I do, and I know you guys love them, so if anything else pops up in between that, I'll try and do that too. I'm sure we'll have more fights and press conferences like this, but it's been a pleasure doing this again guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Sicker than your average, pop a twist cabbage off instinct. Niggas don't think shit, stink pink gators. My Detroit players, Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. That's dead right.